The next kind of sequence we're going to introduce you to is something called a recursive sequence. And a recursive sequence is one where you can't determine the next term in the sequence unless you know the term that comes before it. So it will be defined by a rule, but you'll notice when you look at the rule, it'll have something like a base n plus 1 is equal to 2 times a to the n minus 3. So if we look at what happens when we put in a is 1, you end up with an equation that says a to the base 1 plus 1, which is really just a2. So in other words, the second term is found when you put in n as 1 and it's based off of the first term. So the second term is going to equal 2 times the first term minus 3. So if we put in, and they'll always give you the first term, so if you put in that the first term is 5, then you will get that the second term is 10 minus 3, which is 7. So now when you go to find the third term, you're going to put in n is 2. So you'll base the third term off of the second term. So n is 2 for the third term, and you end up with 2 times 7, which was your second term, minus 3, which is 14 minus 3, which is 11. So find for me the next two terms in the sequence. You're just going to go a to the base 4, so a to the 3 plus 1. So we're putting in n is 3. So now this term is 2 times the third term minus 3, which is 22 minus 3, which is 19. So then to find the fifth term is going to be when n is 4. And so it's 2 times the fourth term minus 3, which gives me 2 times 19 minus 3. 2 times 19 is 38. 38 minus 3 is 35. So the first 5 terms of this recursive sequence would be 7, 11, 19, and 35. Sorry, I forgot to put in the first term. So the first term would be 5. So the first 5 terms are 5, 7, 11, 19, and 35. Okay, so now I want you to try this one. And I know I'm leaving you with this one that has a fraction in it, so it is testing your fraction skills, but pause the video and give it a go. At this point, you know, hopefully throwing a fraction into a question won't throw off the whole question for you. So give it a pause and give it a go. So hopefully you're coming back. So now we're going to find the second term by putting in n is 1, because 1 plus 1 is 2. So this is how we're getting the second term. And it's going to be 1 plus 1 over the first term. So we put 1 plus 1 over the first term being 4. So 1 plus a quarter would be 4 quarters, plus a quarter is 5 quarters. And then we keep going. So to find the third term, we're putting in n is 2. So it's going to be 1 plus 1 over the second term. So then you go 1 plus 1 over the second term, which is 5 quarters. Now, in case you don't remember, 1 divided by 5 quarters. In order to divide fractions, you flip the second fraction. So it's actually 1 times 4/5. So 1 divided by 5 quarters is the same as 1 plus 4/5. So then 1 plus 4/5, we make a common denominator of 5/5, and the third term is 9/5. All right, so maybe you didn't know how to start this one, and maybe now you feel confident pausing the video, but we should also now find the fourth term and the fifth term. So the fourth term is going to be when n is 3, so it's going to be 1 plus 1 over the third term. To plug that in, we go 1 plus 1 over the third term, which was 9/5. And then we do that process again. So 1 divided by 9/5 is actually 5/9, right? Because you flip the second fraction and multiply, create your common denominator, and we get 14/9. Now to find the fifth and last term, it's going to be when n is 4, and it's going to be 1 plus 1 over the fourth term. So it's going to be 1 plus 1 divided by 14/9, which would be the same as 1 plus 9/14. And again, create your common denominator. So 14 plus 9 is 23/14. So the first 5 terms in this sequence are 4, and then 5/4, and then 9/5, and then 14/9, and then lastly 23/14. All right, so now you can do quick check number 63. If you find that you need more practice with these, or if you see one that you're like, ooh, that seems like a good one to practice, feel free to do more.